everyone, and welcome to Moonlit Scary Stories. We're your hosts, Skylar and Cameron, and today I will be telling you guys about the demon ZOZO.
In this podcast, we need to warn you of the possibility of language that may not be appropriate for all ages and to some may be offensive. The content we go over in this podcast is recommended for mature audiences and a trigger warning due to the content consisting of demons, sex, rape, and paranormal activity.
Okay, so um, ZOZO. Uh, you might wonder, you know, what is that? Who is it? Who is ZOZO? Or what
Yep.
is ZOZO?
I am wondering
Um,
who Zozo is, where Zozo is from, because I've never heard of it.
okay, so there's not a lot of history. Well, there is some history of ZOZO. However, the reason ZOZO has become popular and how I know it is because in March 2009, Darren Evans, he is now a writer, so he shared his own personal experiences with an Ouija board on an online site called the True Ghost Tales. So his story pretty much revolves around encounters with a specific entity named Zozo. And and there's an Ouija board in the use, and we've talked about, back in our past episodes, the history of an Ouija board.
Check it out, guys.
With the history of the Ouija board and this entity that comes out because of them playing with it, he pretty much tells his encounter on this online site, and then he actually gets a book deal and tells his story kind of Zozo, and it's pretty much all about Zozo. I, however, have not read all of it. I just stopped because I wanted to watch an episode where he appears in Ghost Adventures, and they elaborate his tale a little bit more. Some things I've read that they did was kind of staged. However, I don't know, so I don't know. But these interactions follow a pattern recognizable to people familiar with a Ouija board session gone wrong. So, like in your past episode, Cameron, how you told us about how the skull heads turned around and how your cousin was affected by it. It was, yeah. So that's pretty much one of those stories. This is pretty much one of those stories. So the entity first manifested as a friendly spirit, but subsequent they had it had subsequent communications. So it revealed its true hostile nature later on, once after it became friendly. So I'm going to tell you about his story, and then I'm going to talk a little bit after about it. But this story, I'm going to warn you just because it is kind of bizarre. So okay, my name is Darren, and I'm from Tuscaloosa, Oklahoma. I'm currently 40 years old, and I've held a fascination with the occult since an early age. I have had many bizarre experiences with Ouija boards, and I'm writing this as a warning to people that bad things can happen because of these portals. So, pretty much, Ouija boards open portals, and if you don't say goodbye, the portals stay open. So he goes on and he says, Parker Brothers doesn't care if a demon possesses you or or if you come under some type of an attack from something you know nothing about. The majority of people from the United States holds a skeptical view regarding this scientific evidence of spirits or ghosts. And many people who believe in these things also believe that it is for this reason that ghosts and poltergeists occur here and exist. And he quotes, under the radar, so to speak. These Ouija boards are manufactured under the percept that they are mere toys. Let me tell you firsthand, and in all caps, he says they are not toys, and and should be used with strict caution, and probably should not be messed with, all caps, at all.
Hmm. I was
Other
about to
co-
say.
yeah, other countries take a more open-minded view of spirits, demons, and ghosts, and many cultures uh, have based entire religions from these beliefs. So he just is pretty much given a warning that, you know, Ouija boards are bad, which we've given that plenty of times. I'm not going to repeat it. So um, I'm going to continue with his story right quick. Um, During my experiences with Ouija boards, one particular spirit always seemed to compel to make its presence known. Its name is ZOZO, all caps ZOZO. Today I refuse to even pronounce its name, as I believe the mere pronunciation of it can cause it to manifest itself. So, guys, I'm biting a bullet here.
Mhm.
Um, too many times to count. It is. It has at first pretended to be a nice spirit, or pretended to be whomever I was trying to contact. But eventually it showed me its true self, cussing me, threatening me, and others present in the room. Once it actually cussed me using what looked like Latin or Hebrew and using biblical terminology. I just got chills. Sorry, guys.
That's
I was
creepy.
genuinely, yeah, it is. It is. He says, I was genuinely fascinated and startled by how many times Zozo showed up, even in many different states and many different Ouija boards. You had a question? Did you have a question?
No, I was just, well, now I do. Like, so he went with a Ouija board, Zozo popped up, or is he talking about other people had
It's
him
talking
pop up
about
in theirs?
just him.
Okay.
Like he'll go to a different state, he'll use a different Ouija board or buy a new one, and it would still make its presence or make itself known.
So was it following him or just waiting on a portal to open?
Okay, I'll get to
Okay.
that. It always, so this is still him talking, of course. It always wound up being very nasty and excuse me, commented freely about how it wanted to possess my girlfriends and take them to paradise. When asked where paradise was, it spelled Hell.
Hmm.
One time, after Zozo was being extremely evil, I walked into my bathroom only to see my 1-year-old daughter about to drown. Her mother had left
Okay.
her alone. Yeah, her mother had left her in the tub, alone in the tub, quote, just for a second, and somehow the water got turned on and was overflowing. Instinctively, she had her face tilted up and was seconds from going under when I grabbed her from the water. The next day, she was hospitalized for some weird internal infection and was put in isolation for 14 days straight as the doctors tried to diagnose the illness. We almost lost her, and that was when I began to suspect a demonic attack. At this time, my girlfriend maintained a quote trance-like state. Her personality changed from a very sweet person to withdrawn and uncaring. Zozo said before this that it was going to possess her and eat her soul. I
Hmm.
was, yeah, whew, cold chill. I was
Yeah.
recording music for a future rock project, and I remember jokingly asking if it had an opinion on what I should name the band. It spelled Iron Tongue, all caps, which at the time I thought was pretty cool. Only later, when my daughter's tongue swelled up in the hospital to point out the asphyxiation, I realized that this wasn't cool at all. Her tongue became rock hard and distorted, her face swelling up to where it hung grotesquely from her mouth. We took turns beside bedside at the hospital for what seemed like forever before my daughter began to recover from this strange affliction. He goes on and he says, when guests would spend the night in our house, they would claim that they heard frightening voices coming from inside the walls. Objects would be thrown across the room, and spiders seemed to come from out of nowhere. My girlfriend's brother, whom lived with us, complained that he couldn't sleep at night because of the quote conversations were so loud that he simply could not rest. He believed in ghosts, and though he wasn't afraid of them, he said that it definitely felt demonic. Lights would come off and on by themselves, doors would open and unlock themselves. One night, in our bedroom, a vicious laughter eh, imitated from the thin air, and to this day I cannot explain the terror in that laughter. One night I was awakened by what felt like hands on my throat choking me. I could not breathe, I could not scream. After about 30 seconds, it released its grip and I gasped for air. The same thing happened to my girlfriend the next night. Another night, me and her brother were standing just outside the back porch sliding glass door when we were talking about a supposed curse of their family. I abruptly exclaimed, quote, I rebuke this curse in the name of Jesus Christ. I no longer finished those exact words when a excuse me, when a deafening sound of and a vibration struck the entire house with such an alarming quote boom that the neighbors came over to ask if we heard something strange. I
Hmm.
knew at that moment it wasn't our imaginations. I got out the ladder to see what had landed on top of the house, only to find nothing. Things did settle down after that, and to this day I believe that whatever made that noise also caused the disturbance to go away. And he says dot 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 for a while. So I guess it goes away for a while,
So
and he, yeah,
something boomed, and when that thing boomed, whatever it was took away ZOZO.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's what he believes. That's what he believes.
Okay.
So he goes on. Yeah, it's really really freaky. Like if I was this man, I would have probably been just I would have just told you guys to commit me and just go away.
Mm. I'm not gonna be
My
able to sleep
girlfriend. So
tonight.
I know. Sorry. Ooh, good thing it's after Halloween. So he continues and he says, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I met someone online in Michigan, where I moved up there up to where I moved up to be with her. She didn't believe in spirits, and although I knew better, I decided to make her a believer as well.
Oh God, fucking
Yeah.
idiot,
Yes. So
fucking idiot.
this
So
is
where's
one of
his daughter? He left his daughter.
I guess he left his daughter. I haven't got into like his history of like where
It's
his
in here
timeline
like, you tell him a mom. I'm like, where's his fucking kid?
exactly. Well, I mean, I thought about it too, and I was like, did he just literally up and leave and just divorce, or what happened? So,
Yeah,
uh, he says, okay, sorry. He says,
sorry,
oh,
cut you off guard.
no, that was what I was going to say. Is I actually, this is one of the stories that he told in the Ghost Adventures episode, and I'll go into a little bit more detail if he doesn't say it, and I'll tell you what happened in that episode.
So you
So
first saw this on there?
yes, this is
Okay.
where, yeah, and then they have a movie, I think, or they had something. I think it
Was
was
that
Ghost Nation or Ghost Adventure, Ghost Hunters or something. They actually have an episode where it's a girl this time, and she's talking about how her family's cursed, or that she was using a Ouija board and it spelled out Zozo.
mm.
Yeah.
So was it actually scary? Because I've watched some of those shows and I'm just like, is this? It just didn't get me.
This one got me.
Okay.
Excuse, mm,
Okay.
excuse me.
Anyways.
So living in this is him talking still. So, living in a very small town in Marshall, Michigan, there were no stores that sold Ouija boards. So, I downloaded one from the internet.
Oh
I
God.
printed, and guys, just before start keep going, do not do what he did. Viewer
It
discretion
sounds dumb
advised.
anyway. Like it's not gonna
Yes,
work.
exactly. So, I printed it out, and to my horror, ZOZO returned. It said
Well,
that it came
fucking duh.
from it said it came from quote cyberspace. And when I asked it where it lived, it spelled skull necklace. We didn't
What?
think much of this. Yeah, listen, we didn't think much of this until I asked it again where it was, this time spelling mirror. This was the only one mirror in the bedroom where we were crouched on the floor. I heard a scream coming from oh, sorry, excuse me. There was only one mirror in the bedroom where we crouched on the floor. And I heard screaming coming from her 7-year-old niece who was watching us with another young friend. We looked up at the mirror and saw the skull necklace. Excuse me, that's my dog scratching. Take a pause and I'll delete it. Okay. We looked up at the mirror and saw the skull necklace swaying back and forth, with glowing eyes looking down at us. My new girlfriend's son had hung the necklace on one of the posts of the waterbed hours before I downloaded the paper board. We almost jumped out of our skin, although 3 feet although 3 feet of fresh snow had fallen that night, we all found ourselves in the front yard, not knowing what to do, scared and frozen in terror. My girlfriend was so fascinated she drove 40 miles to purchase a new glow in the dark Ouija board. Much to my dismay, the next night we had another session in the same room. Zozo immediately came forth, and even without me being a participant, my girlfriend's nieces were using the planchette, and I would secretly write down a color into a small piece of paper, crumble it up where no one could see it. I asked the young girls to ask the board if it knew which color I had written down. It quickly scooted to yes and spelled out blue. I remember chills coursing up and down my spine as I threw the wadded up paper to my girlfriend. Her eyes widened as she read the written color blue.
Hmm.
We, yeah, we then tried the same thing with shapes and words, and every time the board knew. One night we asked the board if the spirit would show itself. It spelled yes and told me to turn out the lights and take a picture of the necklace above the board. I did just that, and when turned out, it's eerie to say the least. On the upper left hand corner of the picture, you can plainly see, quote, winged skeletons flying about, and they are of the exact same weird shape of this, quote, skateboarder's skeleton necklace. Towards the middle, you can make out hideous faces. I have seen at least 4 evil faces in this picture. I took this picture about 6 years ago. People have stolen it off of paranormal websites claiming they took it when I know truthfully it was me. I have sent this picture to several quote experts and they have all said they cannot explain the images inside. All as if all of this wasn't strange enough, now comes the really scary part.
Wait.
Okay.
Before we get there.
Mhm.
So, do you have this picture so we can post this for people to see?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think I can find it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I can find it.
And
Yeah.
my
So,
other thing is they just keep playing with this Ouija board. Like every
they don't
night
under
they're playing with this Ouija board. I'm like,
exactly.
the
And I don't
fuck?
even know if they're saying goodbye and closing the portal either.
I guess
Like,
not.
yeah.
You
So,
just chilling. Or she, whatever Zozo is.
Yeah,
Gender
it.
neutral.
Yes. Um, so you ready for the really scary part?
Oh God, I guess.
Okay. Okay. A few months ago, so this is back in 2009, granted. It says,
Hmm.
a few months ago, I Googled the word ZOZO. To my shock, many other people have also been contacted by a demon by the same name. I read about 20 similar stories, and I am now convinced that this simply cannot be a mere coincidence. So, supposedly, Zozo is an ancient demon name, which possibly stands for, quote, the destroyer. Claims of demonic possession are associated with this Zozo, and he says, I feel it my duty to warn people to steer clear of this if it happens to present itself during a Ouija board session. I'm currently researching this phenomenon for a future book, and I am in the initial stages of presenting my findings to a reputable demonologist who has been involved in hundreds of cases of paranormal activities across the world, including, quote, a haunting in Connecticut.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was a
So,
good movie.
yeah, I know. Uh, Hold on.
Oh, I
Okay.
love Kyle.
I know. I lost my place. Okay. So he goes on and he says, what is Zozo? Supposedly, the three-headed dog demon which guards the gates of hell has a tattoo on its forehead that spells ZOSO. Also, ZOZO is a term Aleister Crowley claimed meant 666. Quote, Jimmy Page of the rock group Led Zeppelin also used ZOSO as a symbol on the Zeppelin 4 album. Could Zozo and ZOSO be connected somehow? How can many different people from so many different parts of the world? Oh, I lost my space. Sorry, guys. And I'll close that out, close that out, and start it. How many? How can so many different people from so many different parts of the world somehow lie about this Zozo spirit? And if they aren't lying, then how can you explain these visitations by this wicked entity? Is Zozo the devil himself, or a wayward demon who has the power to manifest itself whenever and wherever it is called? Heed my warnings, people. If you are playing around with a Ouija board and you're jokingly asking if it has a name and it spells Zozo, close the session properly, cleanse the house, never, he all caps, he says, never, I repeat, never ask it again. And if you are brave enough to carry on conversations with this spirit, do not antagonize it or act on its directions. I know what I've seen, and I know other people have also come into contact with a spirit. It is dangerous beyond words. I realize not every session results in negativity, but when you play with this Zozo, you are playing with fire. Everything I have described here is true, and I'm not exaggerating one bit. It may take me years, but I do intend on writing a book about this, as I have many more stories that I do not have time to mention here. They all stem from true events that took place while talking to Zozo. Folks, I have been told by people wiser than myself that the spirit world is more real than this world of so called reality. Ouija boards can cause many bad things to happen in your life. I'm including the Ouija ghost picture within this submission. Maintain an open mind and most of all be careful. So yeah. So, given this unusual experiences, you would think, of course, we've already mentioned this, you would think Evans would have stopped using the Ouija board.
Mm.
Even the most hardened skeptic would probably decide to leave things alone at this point.
Well, he
And
been
by
playing it and just keeps playing it, so I don't know if he
exactly,
would.
exactly. And by all accounts, Evan was the opposite of a skeptic. But by his own admission, he kept using the board despite warning other people away from the encounter with Zozo. So I they didn't tell this, and he didn't tell this as one of his stories. However, in the Ghost Adventures episode, Zach and his team come up, and that's the host of the show. They, meet him, and he doesn't live in that house anymore where they was in the bedroom, but they came in that he was outside the house. They talk to a contractor, and a contractor tells them some stories about how he's hearing things and seeing things in the corner of his eyes and everything. And so they ask him to go and sit on the steps alone. So he does. And when he does, he says, the air feels different. I can hardly breathe. And then he hears like something walking, something in another room. And it's kind of, it's, it's kind of different. But then they pan to his girlfriend and him. And so then it pans over to his girlfriend and him talking about their experience in the house in one of the board sessions. So she starts out by saying, they were talking to Zozo, and she just got this overwhelming feeling, and she started pretty much speaking in tongues, they said. And she ends up like freaking out. And so they close the session. She walks out of the room and walks outside. And no, she walks downstairs, sorry, and lays on the couch down there just to relax from what happened. And he comes down, maybe he said maybe 5 minutes after, and she is literally up in the air with her pants coming down.
No.
Yeah. So he said he had some holy water, so he ran to get it and started spraying it everywhere in the house. And she like woke up, I guess, or got better, and she was like, I felt somebody touch my thigh. I felt somebody on top of, like, it's kind of creepy. And she doesn't even want to go back in the house because of this experience that she had.
Jesus.
And yeah. So they end up talking her into it. And that, what they do is they go into the haunted location and they're locked in for 24 hours. No going out, nobody coming in, just they're locked in there. So they also bring in a Ouija board. And Zach and Aaron, his co-host or co-star, ends up doing an Ouija board session. It ends up saying ZOZO. She starts to freak out again. They have to stop recording and filming, take her to a hotel, because she was literally so sensitive to everything that she starts swaying back and forth and crying, saying, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. Zach felt more of an anger towards everybody and started getting angry. Like, it seemed like Zozo, or this entity, was controlling the environment to where they were like freaking out and not themselves.
Mhm.
And they end after that episode, like, I could go on, but I'm not going to say all of it. But after that episode, that whole crew that does the ghost hunters apparently went to a priest because they had nightmares the next night and felt like something attached to them. And they ended up getting blessed and everything by a priest, and going through like a mini kind of exorcism kind of thing, just because of how bad this affected them when they recorded the show.
That's creepy.
Yeah. So whether or not you believe Evan's accounts or the other stories that you see, are, because they're most many other stories are like it. The fact remains that the name Zozo does appear throughout history. One of the earliest mentions that I could find was found in the Le Dictionnaire Infernal. which published in 1816. Within it, Page's author Jacques Augusta Simon Colin de Plancy, sorry, that was a long name, tells the story of a girl possessed by three demons, one of which was named Zozo. Less acknowledged is that within the same text, de Plancy would go to assert that the girl's story was untrue. The declaration isn't without merit because the girl was previously punished for false claims of demonic possession. So he does. So we don't know if that's true or not. But other people think the name Zozo comes from Pazuzu, and that's a. I'm going to butcher this. I am sorry, listeners. Mesopotamian deity said to be the king of demons associated with the wind. According to ancient religious beliefs, he caused famine and brought locusts down upon the people. In the name Pazuzu if the name Pazuzu sounds familiar, there's a good reason. Horror aficionados, sorry, horror aficionados will recognize him as the demon that possesses Reagan in The Exorcist.
Hmm.
So if these details do little to convince you of Zozo's actual existence, you're not alone. It does sound suspiciously like somebody cobbled together various tidbits of supernatural lore to gain internet stardom. So the question is Zozo real or not? We may never know if Darren Evans made up his original Zozo encounter, but what we do know is that despite his claims of other Zozo stories having been other his claims other Zozo stories haven't has been shared online, and at the time of his first posting, they have never been found other than, after his posting. So, nevertheless, the entity caught the attention of the internet and other dabblers in the occult. Even if Zozo himself may not be real, we cannot deny that there are many stories of a Ouija board sessions gone awry. Perhaps the truth is something similar. He gives an undefined name to a common experience that he shared by spirit board users who accidentally contacted a hostile spirit and didn't have a name. I don't know. We don't know. But, you know, I I think from what I've read and what I've heard that he could be real. I feel like that it could be a demon named Zozo that torments and well is friendly first and then torments you. But yeah, I guess it's just up to you and our listeners if you think it's real or not. I tried to research, but like I said, the only history I got was when they were talking about Del Del Plancy and everything about what he thought. Um, so yeah, that is that's Zozo, guys. Don't
Yeah.
fuck with Ouija boards. That's all I can tell you.
That's pretty creepy.
Yeah, it gives you cold chills. Like I don't like I can't say that it's real or not. I don't know. I'm not gonna discredit him because he could have just been doing it for internet stardom. But I think that if he was to have done it that way, I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have been. I don't know. I don't think he would have kept doing it if it was just getting him fucked up all the time. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird that he kept doing it. That was my big problem is that he kept on doing the Ouija board sessions and even got his girlfriend to believe in it.
Yeah, he should have left that shit alone after his first girlfriend.
For real. For real. So yeah. That was all I had on that. And I guess if you don't have any comments or questions, it's time for social media.
Okay. So on Twitter, we're Moonlit Scary. Instagram, we're Moonlit Scary Stories. And we are Moonlit Scary Stories at gmail.com. Email us,
Ooh.
message us on social media, whichever one. Constructive criticism, guys. We also upload to YouTube along with the podcast sites. So you can get subtitles there if you're interested. We also upload our citations from where we get most of our information on the YouTube sites as well. So, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, we will see you guys for our next episode, and it should be the one of us together.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, okay. I was thinking about that. So you guys will get to hear one of us together, and then we will, of course, start it over with each of our own stories.
Yep. Sounds
All,
great.
all right. Well, we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Thanks.